Who is an Agile coach? What does he or she possess as a skill? Can you become an Agile coach? We are going to answer all these questions and break the myths today. Hello, my name is Debo and I am your personal coach. Agile coach has become one of the most prominent roles in the corporate industry now. As the teams are moving towards agile and agile projects, the coaches are in high demand. Now, trust me, the problem is that we have less good coaches, but too many coaches. So we have many coaches in the industry, but there are very few good coaches. And the problem arises from the awareness of the role. What do you need to do basically as an agile coach? Now, I'm not going to talk about your day-to-day activity of an agile coach. What I'm trying to do is what should be the focus of an agile coach when you are into that role. And I call it ABC of agile coaching. So let's begin. Now, A of agile coaching is the agnostic behavior. So, framework agnostic. You might have seen so many people who talk about Scrum or Kanban or SAFe or less scale framework, the Scrum frameworks, and all that stuff, right? Now, the important part of being an agile coach is that you need to be agnostic of all these frameworks. It doesn't mean that you should not know. You should always, obviously, you need to know all of these frameworks, right? You need to use those frameworks wherever required. But these are not only, you should not define or confine yourself with one of these frameworks. You should not be talking about all the frameworks, or you should not be talking about the frameworks all the time. Look, agility is more than the frameworks, right? The frameworks come to support the agility, and your job as an agile coach should be very much focused on that part which is agnostic as well. So if a team is struggling, you need to understand why they are struggling, right? What are the causes, not the symptoms? What are the causes of those struggles? How can you resolve them? How small can you start? How can you empower them? It's not that, okay, the team is struggling, obviously we need Scrum. Put Scrum framework here, everything will be resolved. No. Scrum does not solve any problem. Neither does SAFe, nor does less, nor any Kanban, or anything. The problems are solved by people, not by framework. The frameworks exposes the problem where you can go and solve them. Now, every time when you are starting, you might not have that luxury. Sometimes it misfires if you start implementing a framework. So hold on your horses. Just try to understand. Bring small changes. Try bringing small habits for the team so that they can start their journey towards agility. It's not always a framework that should be the answer. Try to remain in the problem domain for a bit. Try to understand the problem and then try to analyze the solution based on your problem. There cannot be one step answer Scrum or Kanban or any other framework for that matter, right? These frameworks are very useful. These frameworks should be in your toolkit. It should be used whenever required, but not always, right? So as an agile coach, you should be agnostic, about these frameworks. Second one is B, ABC. B is the believer. So you as an agile coach need to believe in yourself, need to believe the things that you are doing. If you do not believe in yourself, that whatever you are trying to make changes, if you do not believe that these will work out, this will probably not work out. And to be very honest, if you do experiment, it might not work out as well. That's okay, right? That's okay. Try to understand that when we do experiments and it fails, we learn, right? The only failure in this profession is not to try. Is always to go with the prescribed thing, right? So it's the answer is not always same for all the teams. So you need to be very, very much focused on that according to the problem, you need to come up with solutions which might work, which might not work. You learn and you believe that you are going on that right path. So that's very key. So belief system needs to be there, and that's how you need to inspire people with whom you're working, right? And remember the funny fact: some people, there have been many people whom I'm interacted with, and they have told me that we'll empower Scrum Master. Trust me, that's not always the case. There might be situations where you don't really have a Scrum Master. If you don't have a Scrum, how can you have a Scrum Master? And you can only have a Scrum Master when you create a Scrum team, right? So that's, as I said, that's not always the answer. So how can you make a team agile without even having Scrum? Have you ever thought about it? Start thinking, because this is where your journey to agility starts. Right? So don't always have that prescribed formula. Scrum works, no doubt. Scrum works. Scrum Master is required when you have Scrum, right? There are people now who are using the Scrum, as Dave Snowden says, that Scrum can be put into different frameworks. So it's a method, right? I'm not going into that argument or that debate, but Dave Snowden is a very intelligent person. He talks about that very often, and he says that now Scrum is fit into SAFe, it fits into LESS, and so many other different frameworks, right? So the Scrum is not only a framework of Scrum itself. It is part of many other scale frameworks. So it definitely works, but you need to be champion of the process where you're only talking about agility, where you're talking only about creating those values, infusing that enthusiasm to move from to take people to individual interaction from process and tools, right? So that's how it is. Now that's where the belief comes into the picture. Now the C, which is the courage. Now when you are an agile coach, and you will have so many stakeholders to answer, you will have you will have so much of responsibilities. You will have, and responsibility in the sense doesn't mean accountability. I'm talking about expectations, right? That okay, he or she is the person who has joined our team as an agile coach, and they're going to transform. And that's a great part of being a transformation agent as well, where people expect from you. People want you to bring change, and which you do, right? And but that's also pressure. So many people gets cracked down. Don't get cracked down on that pressure. It's a responsibility. It's something that you should enjoy, right? And that's where the courage comes into the picture. You need to be courageous enough to call out things which are required, right? It's not always goes according to, if somebody gives you a roadmap and say, hey, this is how it needs to be done, you need to call out, this is not my plan. So if this is not my plan, this is not my accountability, right? So if there are things which are going wrong, remember, in a transformation, there are different parts of transformation which goes on, right? One is always with the process, where you put some process to initiate that transformation, and the framework and all, it becomes a part of process. There are transformation from people side, where you transform the mindset of people, how they think, how they are working and all that stuff, right? So you change that part as well, you transform that part as well. And the third part is a structural transformation. Now there are so many other things which are surrounding this, right? So many other system, network, process, and so on and so forth, hierarchies and all that stuff, right? And that is the hardest part of a transformation, where you have to go speak to the leaders, change their behavior as well, transform the process, how it works and all that. And it takes time. Transformation isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. There are things that you will experiment which will not work. You need support from the management. You need support from the leadership. So it has to be a team's effort. It has to be something which is something that people want to change, right? Where if you are a part of an organization where they want to change, uh, you'll get the support. If an organization just wants to be agile on paper, right? You could hardly make any doesn't matter how much effort you put, there will be the structural problems which would come into the picture, right? By implementing process or giving some lectures won't help with this. Another important thing that come to the picture when you are dealing as an agile coach, right? I have heard many people say, whenever whenever someone asks me or asks them that, what would you do in this situation, and if there is a situation which needs to be done, which needs to be addressed, and they would come up with some training plan, they would come up with some workshop plan. Now, if everything can be resolved within with a workshop or a training plan, then the job is fairly easy, right? I mean, that there is nothing that you need to do. All you need to do is prepare some training content and just deliver it to them. If you're a good presentation, people will. If you're a good presenter, people will listen to you. People will be engaged, and they'll just grab those content and go back, and the, the world is changed, right? That exactly doesn't. That's what not happens. So what happens? What happens is that you need to go and work with them constantly, mentor them. You need to build those small habits with them, work with them continuously, help them. You cannot change them, can change their mindset just by that, right? You cannot make people think like you. Uh, what you can do is you can create that environment where people start thinking how they should, right? So you need to create that ambience. You need to help people. You need to help people to get into that direction. That's what you need to do. And it's not that you need to go and create. You need to help them so that they can recognize the pattern. They can recognize, they expand their own horizon, right? You need to help them to do that. And that's a very, very big role. And it's not always. I mean, there are many people who think agile coaching means they will go and will give some delivery. No, some of the training and workshops and that. Trust me, the job is much more than that. You need to have a strategy how to uh, get into this get into the mindset of the team. You need to work with the organization at the organization level as well. If you are partnering with some other people at the organization level, you need to collaborate and do the strategy, and that's very important. That's how it works out as a plan. So remember, if you're an aspiring agile coach, or if you are an agile coach already in very beginning of your career, talk to people who have been there, who are already who are an agile coach, experienced agile coach. Talk to them, try to get their help, ask for mentorship, and try to gain their insights. We live in a community, and we should help each other. Like, if you want, you can always contact me as well. It's about helping each other, and making this a better society. Look, agile came in 2001, but till now, the progress that we have made are not so drastic, and that's because there have been so much of misinformation. It's time that we as a community come together, spread the right awareness, try to help each other to so that we can be better at our job. Right? If you have any other question, feel free to ask me. Put your comments down on the video. If you want to know anything more, do suggest or do ask me. I'd love to do that. And if you like the content, please subscribe and like this content. Thank you so much for being with me. I see you soon.